Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. We are live here on July 21st. It's my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Anna. For tuning in. Episode 29 of the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. I'm your host, Josh Fisher. This live stream is brought to you by Crew Talent Group, the greatest claims adjuster recruiting firm on planet Earth. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday so far. Now, if you're here with us today, say hello in the chat. Love to hear you. Chat in the chat just to see that it works, and it does. Got my protein in one hand. I got my coffee hurricane mug in the other hand. Having a good time. It is a scorcher of a day here in Portland, Oregon. High of 98, hottest day of the summer so far. I got my tank top on. I got my AC cranking. I got my dog who's just having a tough day. We might have to go jump in the river later. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We will see. Scorcher of a day. Again, this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. I go live every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. here on the Best Coast. We talk all things claims adjuster, recruiting, jobs, interviews, resumes, whatever help, whatever you want to talk about. Totally open format. I've got some topics that I go through at the beginning of the show, and then I go through questions that I hear from people throughout the week. If you have something that's on your mind that you want to talk about, my office is totally open. That you can brush aside all of the content that I have planned and talk about whatever you want. That's what this is for. What's up, Caleb? Hope you're having an awesome week so far. Thanks for tuning in. I got my hurricane mug. Maybe that's how we should start this show. I haven't been really paying attention. Not today. Late at this. Hot. Get up early. Run. I'm still on a little hiatus from running. I'm trying to get back to 100%. Trying to figure out the balance there. Probably gonna go 10 miles on set. Check this out, a little impromptu. Checking out the greatest weather page, the official weather page of Talent Group. That's Mike's weather page. I haven't been keeping up with the storm. I knew that there was a earth, like Texas might get some. Right now, it's a tropical. Looks like a night there, Texas. So I haven't been following this storm super close. I thought I'd just bring it up quick, take a peek. I know us adjusters, people that work in the industry, follow. Thanks for the page, got you covered. If you want to go find some cool on the storms and all that. 60 mile an hour, 5. Doesn't look like it's going to do a whole lot. Although if you're in that area, please stay tense. But let's get into it. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream. I got a little reaction video to start the show off. Kind of goes along the theme, so let's check it out.
There's one phrase I'm hearing in almost every leadership interview that's becoming completely meaningless. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Lindsay. I'm a recruiter with 12 plus years of industry experience, and that is why I started Inside the Hire. If you're interviewing for a director or a VP role, Please stop telling me you led cross-functional teams. I hear it in almost every interview, and honestly, it tells me almost nothing. Because guess what? Everyone leads cross-functional teams. Product, marketing, finance, operations, engineering. That's not what I'm trying to understand. What I actually want to know is, why was leading those teams difficult? Were they competing for a budget? Were there conflicting priorities? Were executives aligned? And what resistance did you run into? And most importantly, how did you get people to move forward when they didn't all want the same thing? That's leadership, not the fact that there were multiple departments involved. The strongest candidates don't just tell me who is in the room, they explain the business dynamics that they had to navigate. Because leading cross-functional teams just isn't that impressive anymore, but leading people with different incentives towards the same outcome, now you've got my attention. I want to hear from you. What's another leadership buzzword you hear all the time that doesn't really tell you anything? Let me know in the comments, and as always, follow me here for more at Inside the Hire.
Fun little video. Hard to focus. Fun little video from Inside the Hire. I saw that on TikTok when I was scrolling my TikTok, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And I think we'll talk about some of this stuff later today, but you hear all this advice on resumes, like use the buzzwords. I think that was good advice, and care about buzz. When I see acted personally, what that experience was, challenges, not expecting you to be perfect, have difficulty, come those, and we also want to kind of navigate where that's at and the responsibilities that you had and how that relates. So I think that's a great video. Go ahead and check out Inside the Hire, all those fancy platforms like Instagram, TikTok, but just kind of an interesting theme, kind of what we're seeing online, some of the information that we're seeing. It's like very buzzword heavy. Get these keywords on your sick of it. And we'll talk about some of this stuff here in a bit. I like that video. Cross-function. We're all working. Caleb's been busy the last few weeks. That's good to hear, man. 6 claims yesterday. Holy smoke. Another busy one. Has it been weather? You getting some weather in the Midwest? Haven't been following the weather specifically much. I haven't been following the Midwest weather. Weather related or non-weather is probably better. But yeah, I know it is kind of peak time. We're kind of getting over the peak right now. Midwest. If I can get this. There we go. Back in. Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you're just new here, if you're just joining, this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hour weekly live stream. I go live every week. Our goal is to help 100 people in the year 2020 jobs and engineering. So this segment is called Hear You Winning. We want to hear people winning. Listeners of the show, anyone else like to celebrate your wins, shout it out live on the show. I got one. It's a little late. This happened a few months ago. She hadn't put it up online yet, and so I didn't want to spoil her public. So want to shout out another member of the Catalyst community, Chrissy. Shout out getting a job. She started a job about 3 months. Not quite insurance related, but we're still gonna count it because we like Chrissy a lot, and it's our show. We can count it. No, it's not necessarily insurance related. Really wanted to shout out Chrissy on the show for just being an awesome human being and getting a new job, moving to a new city, doing all the fun stuff. But so shout out Chrissy. Love to see you winning. Love to see you crushing it at your new job. But another thing I just wanted to shout out about her experience, going crazy in detail, was for me to be there and support, but also kind of watch someone in that job hunting phase of their life and different strategies. I think that she did all the right thing. It's not a fun process. I don't think anyone enjoys it. It's so much work. But to see her get vulnerable online, to go on LinkedIn, start posting about topics that talk about network with everybody. Take meetings, even if they don't make sense. Talk about online about some of the. I mean, about AI interviews. Network with a lot of people. It was really good for me to see. I think a lot of people can kind of learn from how she's able to operate, and strategize. And I know it's like her life; it's not strategy. Some of the things that she did to help get me, to help build a community while she was. She worked on getting a new job and worked for her, and she's shout out her, congrats. I think another iteration of this podcast that I'm kind of cooking up right now is to start having some found jobs on the show and to talk about what strategies they use, what worked, what work, how they felt the process. So if you're tuning in now, you're hearing it first. This is probably going to happen in the next month, so I'm excited to kind of get this off the ground. We'll still do the weekly live stream, maybe once a month instead of our normal 2 have a guest on. And it's all going to be cool and jobs focused. And also we'll have people who recently have found jobs, and we'll hiring man talk about what they're looking for. Love to have. Got a little bit of everything. Tornadoes in Illinois, hail. How's it? And that's the life of a claims adjuster. You never know what it's going to car driving through hotel. Tornadoes in Illinois, man. I'm glad we don't have. Glad we don't have scary stuff. Stay safe. Hail in Missouri. Trees. Cars driving through. Crazy stuff. Well, let's get into it. Again, this is the weekly. Oh wait, one more segment, and then we'll get into the potatoes. It's the Clint Office Hours weekly live. I like talking about stuff in the this market postal section. Something I found interesting at topics, looking at articles happening in AM Best does a report every year on kind of the status of the profitable, how the industry, the different lines. You can purchase that. I read a couple of breakdowns of it. One of them was Insurance Journal sort of breakdown of this report, and I found it really interesting, kind of from where I'm at and where I sit. Touch briefly on it. I can pull. Audio is going in and out. That just. I have to plug it in. Or hardwired in. Appreciate that all out. That's it. We're hardwired in. I got a wire running all across my house. Okay. But yeah, the AM Best interesting breakdown on the insurance. So basically big news, the numbers this year look fantastic. Uh, best best 2025 was the best year for the insurance industry decade. Um, feels kind of weird for where we're sitting and where I'm sitting in terms of jobs and see. I think the property market is claims adjusters is really tough, but I think that kind of aligns with it. Bind ratio came in. There's underwriting income. But most of the gains came from personal lines, auto, and personal lines homeowner. Homeowner up $17 billion. So why I think that's interesting and how it relates to careers and recruiting, I think it makes a whole sense, right? The personal lines crushed it. Wasn't a whole lot, especially on the property side. There was catastrophic weather events. That obviously helps a lot, and I think that the underwriting is for a lot of this is that starting to see bigger push, more due diligence, I think, on the underwriting side, and carriers got smoked the last couple of years in states like Florida and California. All these people kind of pull out. You saw the laws change a little bit, but I think carriers are kind of getting here with where they're writing business. And that certainly affected the property side. And interesting part is liability. So commercial auto lost money, around $2. General liability. So I think that really makes sense in terms of I'm seeing a lot of the positions that I've been working on are in general liability and commercial auto, and those are the ones that are losing money. So you're hiring adjusters, you're having claims, you're having more complicated losses in these lines. So that's where the demand is. Without reading this, that's what I've been talking about here the last 29 episodes. I mean, a lot of my background prior to this, starting my own business with personal lines home. I recruited mostly property adjusters. I would love to continue doing that. I would love to do hurricane work. I would love to do direct placements for property adjusters. But the truth is that there hasn't been a whole lot of demand for property. It's not that I don't like that business, but I haven't been able to find a whole lot of people to pay me money to do it. So I have to go with where the money goes for me, and where that's been has been auto, general liability. And so I've had to kind of learn new things on my own. Do this. Yeah, I had some experience doing bodily injury. I did a lot of auto adjustments, especially for red back in the. I had experience. We used to have to hold bodily injury 75 people. These staff people across the country, Chicago. So I had the experience of doing some auto. Had a little intro into general liability, but I've really dove deep markets kind of out of necessity. I'm seeing the demand, and reading this, well, check out the insurance. But that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, homeowners have been crushing it. They've been making a whole lot of money, and besides that, the industry shifted definitely impact on recruiting and hiring and talent acquisition across the industry. Interesting stuff. But now we'll get into it. Again. Just tuning in. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours week live stream. I go live every 9:30 or 9 a.m. on the best coast. We're just gonna open it up here. Whatever you want to talk about. If you're out there looking for a job, need some tips, go through your resume live, whatever you want to do, live stream. Otherwise, I got some topics. And basically, a lot of the conversations that I've had over the past week, I've talked to a lot. Have been working in claims for a while and are kind of wondering. So that's kind of the theme of the show: is stuck where you're at. How do you move up? What does that look like for people? What are different tracks that you can take? So if you're tuning in, I'd love to hear what's worked for you. If you're a director of claims or higher, how did you get to where you are? If you're just crushing 2+ a year, put it in the chat. No, I mean, but if you're crushing it, what advice would you have for people starting out or people then? How do you move up in claims? What does that path look like? Most people, I think, in claims start off as common approach, and that's where the most numbers probably personal lines adjusters. I think most people kind of start out there, but how do you kind of move around? How do you make it to the next step? So basically, where I'm sitting, there's tracks that you want to stay in claim. So many different possibilities. Accomplish whatever goal that you have. But in terms of staying in the claims industry, two possible tracks are the more common ones that I see: getting into management or being a subject matter expert. So let's start with kind of the management track. How to do it, how I've seen people, how it works. I think the most common and the way that I've seen work really well is getting promoted with start at a large carrier organization that has some. So that's one way to do it. You start at a big top 5 carrier. They've got a billion adjusters. They got 1,000 managers. They got section managers, and a lot of times they'll have a path in terms of like how to move up. But I've seen effective is here, I think, to work in an organization and up that organization, than to make those jumps outside, going from easier to go from like one type of adjusting, but in terms of distributor, advisor, like that seems to be done with. That's where it kind of gets difficult, is what if you work in an organization? I mean, I had a chat with someone. They work for one of those top 5 organizations. Got killed on basically they had one bad guy, like they've been an adjuster. They had like a complaint of something that was outside of their control, and their guys got killed. So their ability to move up is like severely dampened here because it takes that long to get. It's like off their record. Like, what do you do in that? Where sometimes like a lateral move or a kind of sense. But those are some of the things that can happen too. Is like a lot of these companies have some eyes or something. Oh, and I've never been in that situation. Working for one, but I hear about it all the time. And I've worked from the vendor side and kind of seen them have some odd KPIs for. We got dinged. And they basically had like a vendor rankings. It would rank based on these factors. Basically said no to an assignment, very remote. Adjusters have the people. Got dinged down their ranking. Large firm that can think about sometimes they have these guys that could we have sent some qualified person there just to not get dinged. I've seen those like that side of things where guys are really um but yeah, I just had that conversation and got me thinking kind of about this. How do you move up if you that's kind of one track. I want to do management. Well, other thing I'll say about management that best adjusters are not always the best managers, and you could say that about any. This is not necessarily of this, and the other thing I think that's difficult times is companies don't want to pull their best producer out, especially if you work for an IA firm or a T. You're crushing it financially. You're billing $500,000 a year for that company. They don't want to pull you out of production to be a manager. And the other side is sometimes if you're a killer producer, you're going to be compensated a little bit higher than your manager. At least on the independent side, I've always seen the more money you make is actually as a producer, crushing it, probably making double what you're honestly. A lot of times that's not you know. So the other way that you can move up is being a subject matter expert, kind of in line with that. So you're crushing it in the field, you're a real adjuster, you're billing, you're working for an independent firm, learning new skills, getting better at your craft, being able to, or because you're a general adjuster and this is a large loss, or you're and this is a large loss, or you're the construction defect person, you can be very, very highly compensated. So that's another way to kind of move up in claim. Don't want to do anything, and then also it more than, but it takes sometimes doing some nastier stuff that other people don't want to do. It takes getting involved in some claims that other people don't want to. Yeah, I mean, I'm in California right now recruiting for a couple roles that are very much subject matter expert type. We're looking for being well over 60. California, and the comp market there is a little bit different than the couple examples just right now that have been working talking to other hiring managers. The one I hear over and over back to, there's not a whole lot of really there's companies out there, they're the top construction team, they're gonna pay you a lot of money, really in demand field. But then kind of that flip side of like, how do you get construction defect experience, the companies hiring one? And I don't necessarily have the answer. I think it's tough. Someone's got to take a chance on you, or you got to volunteer, work at a company. Pull by the horn, cast a shadow, or try and learn. They have no one else, and you're it. But that is certainly a that I see. I think part of the reason that skill set's so in demand is because the actual financial impact that have on it. They're able to catch certain. They're able to kind of help on the risk I'd identify. Yeah, those claims nasty, super common. Old habitability is one that's kind of an California habitability. Wants highly into complicated. California has some of the wackiest kind of habitability laws. someone can, if something happens or alleges that happened, and the laws that the company is required, things that they're required to do, and the times in which they're required to do, makes it very difficult, very costly. Creating programs to help that, and also just making sure you're handling those claims by the book, and comes with a price tag. Those are two kind of tracks that I see. I can't stress it enough, though, on both of those tracks, everybody wants claims to have a whole lot of claims. So I know it's not an exciting thing to talk about, but I think I see really good step, kind of show people really focus on AICs. You're tuning in. Thanks so much for joining. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. Josh Fisher. Got about halfway past the hour, so we got about 30 minutes here chatting all things claims recruiting, how to move up in claims. The topic today, or the theme, is kind of moving up and how you do that. What is got things you want to talk about, drop them in the chat. You're trying to move up, I'd love to hear your story, type of experience you have, what types of things you're looking for, what gets you excited about the industry. The most exciting industry on the planet, insurance, claims adjuster. It's hard. The other thing I'm hearing, not hearing, but another adjuster podcast that just came out, has been doing numbies. Really cool podcast, The Salty Adjuster. Check out The Salty Adjuster if haven't heard of them yet. I got to talk to Salty and producer Brett this past week, so sometime coming up. Super excited about that. It's a really cool concept, and I think part of the reason it's been doing well, crushing so hard, is because I think a lot of people relate to Salty right now. Very relatable figure or industry leader, but he's got a really good perspective where I think really likes the industry, but it's hard, and kind of talking about some of the difficult things about the job or being kind of work. I've never worked as an adjuster, so I don't have that perspective like he does. But it's a really, really tough job, and I know I recruit for it, and I talk so great about life as an adjuster. There's very difficult job, very difficult path. It's not for everyone. There's this very negative perspective on insurance in general. Media, we don't like to talk about times when the insurance company goes out and pays the claim fairly, like they do. And we like to talk about disputes and the big numbers and lawsuits and things. So I think there's this negative perspective on insurance in general, and I think full facing claims role that there is. Agents, I think, are very customer facing, but they don't. I don't know. I had like a 10-minute call with I just read my business policies. I didn't even talk to him on the phone. which is another thing, and we could probably talk about that. But an issue, like, send me an email. How it goes? I don't really want to talk to you. Paper sign sometimes. So I think the educational aspect I understand a lot of this stuff, and so I'm doing my own homework, but I don't think the average consumer understand. So the first person a lot of times they ever talk to it, they're not at exactly a good time. And so yeah, I think it's really, really difficult. They take the brunt, a lot of that negative perspective have on the insurance. Take it out on the edge. Flip side, you also have a lot of crazy claims getting filed right now, and you've got aggressive contractors. They get to be kind of the bad news at times. Tough job. So yeah, back to the salty adjuster. Hearing that perspective, adjuster kind of hear their perspective, their ideas to fix things, and very relatable. Check it out, the Salty Adjuster on audio only. Salty is anonymous. Trying to figure out who Salty is. Yeah, he's audio only on like Spotify, Apple Podcast. I'm excited to go on and talk about okay, the next thing I want to chat about today is just the different levels that we look at from like a talent acquisition side, and how we talk about them, and how that relates to you or any listener, their own role, that they're hiring or they're looking for jobs, with different types of levels and the different kind of ties into the talking about actually. So basically in HR, we talk about roles in different types, 3 different groups. So individual contributor, manager, types of roles. Have an individual contributor. What that basically means is that you have a job, have an objective. That objective is not managing, right? You have a role where you're something ultimately impacts the bottom line of whatever keyword. Support roles sure is technically adjuster, an underwriter. Basically, it's someone that doesn't have anyone. Their job is not managing people, it's a task. So if I'm a recruiter, my task is, I'm a claims adjuster's task is handle. And that's like most entry level role, not, but there's also, you could be extremely specialized, best at what you still be an individual, right? And make a ton of money. Consultant at a business. Engineer. Your role is not manage people. That's kind of the base level that most people kind of start at. That's manager, kind of that next step where your role is now to manage people that are. So at these different levels, we responsibilities and kind of like the competence change, right? If you're a nurse, you have very specific things that we need you to be good at, right? You need to be good at taking vital signs. care. If you're an adjuster, good at handling, expert at codes, or at least knowing where to construction technique, product identification. If you're a manager and you're managing an adjuster, you don't necessarily need to be a subject matter expert in everything that they're. You don't need to be able to do that job, and I think that's people get that tripped up sometimes. Like, you're really good at something that you're a manager. Sometimes the manager doesn't need skill to the same competency. They need to be good at managing, right? That because that's their job. So those are the first two levels. The third level is like a leadership, managing manager. One way to look at it, but it's like their job isn't to manage people. Really, it's to drive company values, company initiative, whatever. Projects the company is working on. They're driving that into their team. They're making decisions that affect everybody down the line with sometimes competing priorities. And their job necessarily isn't to manage those people, it's to lead those people, all believing in the shared objective. If it department head, whatever that might be. So you have these three different levels. So claims world, you might have a claims adjuster. Have first notice on a call center. Kind of in team lead, you're not necessarily managing people, not necessarily not making decisions. Like, you're just but you're leading outcomes that are involved. You're not necessarily. Those are still kind of independent. Manager might look like supervisor, where you have a bunch of people reporting to you. Your job is not make the claim, or that the loss ratio is better, or have better outcomes in the claims. Your job is to empower your team to collectively all do their jobs the best. In turn, so yeah, interesting stuff. I think it's good to kind of know about the different possibilities, and then to see, like, as a recruiter or a hiring team, what we're looking for changes dependent on the role. And so one of the things I see on resumes, they'll have someone with like a VP title, and then they'll have individual contributor. That's what they'll be talking about in their descriptions, and then they're not able to get an interview for other VP. So there's a few things kind of happening there. Is the first is different companies will use different titles for all kinds of say this never read not like a certain way, but in all reality their titles are really not, their responsibilities really don't titles. I've talked to VP basically, people wanted to differentiate so they could be specialists, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just to say you could actually be a contributor. But yeah, a lot of times what we'll see though is you're VP at a company and you've got responsibilities down. Those responsibilities don't necessarily go toward what you're applying to. For a VP at this company, and this crush those, might be able to communicate that really effectively. Okay, but if those responsibilities don't align with, see that quite a bit. So at a VP level, you shouldn't be talking about claim outcome. Talking about company outcome. Your higher level stuff, like you're not talking about your individual statistics. You're talking about your different teams. How you were able to take this them. They weren't doing well before, and you different stakeholder programs and managers or specific results. Maybe you were the property homeowner manager, property report. Your team KPIs were this when you got here. How you got cycle time. That's some of the. Yeah, if you're a VP, talking about how you act this. Maybe you really worry, but that's just. Late as much. Got about 10 minutes here in the claims office hours weekly live stream. Still here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for joining. You're just tuning in. Just open up the office every Tuesday. Talk about claims. Talk about recruiting in the industry happening, things I'm seeing. If you got situations to chat about, drop them in the chat. Totally open format. We're just hanging out in a tank top today on a very hot Tuesday here in Portland, Oregon. He's here today. Hottest day of the summer. Today is 98. Tomorrow's 90. Torture of get some. Love it. I love the summer. Hot here. We're not equipped like maybe the Midwest might be. California. Like businesses don't have AC. A lot of the construction have AC. It's not get as hot. So 98 for us is pretty tough. Whereas 105 in West Chrome stands. AC's on full blast. Going along the same theme, we've been talking about how to move up in claim. Something else I've been talking to people and hearing kind of a theme is people working for some of the bigger carriers, not necessarily liking it, but then kind of being like, well, I'm compensated pretty well, and so it's hard to leave what I do. So I thought it was an interesting conversation. It's when you talk to people that work at some of the larger insurance companies, big ones, the thing you hear over and over is bureaucracy. Hosting it. Thanks for hanging out, but yeah, like you work for a big firm, they have these weird KPIs. They, it's harder to do everything. They might have their own built-up claim software that was built in and you have to figure out that mess. And then a bigger company, a lot of times these companies have all these processes that maybe at a smaller company take you way less time, and it's easy to handle claim, close out your claim book. So people get burned out of some of these major carriers, but I think it's not an issue. But what happens, and I've seen happen, is you're making good money doing it. You're getting good cat bonuses, getting really good, sometimes like pension plans. They have really competitive pay packages. If you're able to kind of move up and stay at a carrier for a long time, company car. So yeah, people kind of reach a point where they plateau, maybe kind of want to see what else is out there, but it's a pay cut. It's So I think it's an issue. I think it's not an issue, but it's something I see happen over and over. So I'm not sure, the right answer for everybody's going to be, but I think talking about some of the different things that you find yourself. I think we talked about management and how you can move up and go work into management. The other thing you could do is kind of look at different lines. And I think a lot of times that comes with a pay cut. So that can be scary. It doesn't always have to be a pay cut, but if you're a really big, if you're a specialist, you're doing, if you've been at a carrier for 8-10 years, maybe you're already kind of doing, maybe you're on the large loss team, or you're on the fire team, or they put you on the apartment complexes, the losses. So that's where I would be looking to go. If I was an adjuster right now, I was working for a big carrier on maybe the homeowner side or on the auto side, my next step would be to look at commercial. And I think that long term, the money will be worth it. That's where we're seeing the losses, as we talked about, seeing some of that, but you're also seeing pay in some of those. So even if it might be a slight pay cut, right position or really targeting the right company, but also being able to target the right company, have the foresight to look at and ask these questions in the interview, but like, what is promotion like? Are there people on your team? What is this natural progression? How often does it happen? When was the last time we were able to do something? So is this actually good? And like what that roadmap might look like for you. So yeah, if you're taking a lateral move, you want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, or you have the long-term objective. Maybe you're looking for somewhere with more work-life balance, type of company, type of law. Those are all the things that I would look at, but I think the commercial side of insurance, a lot of potential in terms of career growth. Again, designations are going to be there. Or you can stay at your current job. That's, I think, a lot of people. You don't see as many people staying at jobs anymore. A lot of times in some of the older generations, people work jobs for. Seeing some of the statistics come out about like Gen X job jumping. I think people don't stay at jobs as long anymore. They see it a little bit more transactional. I think companies in general, as a whole economy, especially in the United States, become very transactional. You see layoffs, you see headlines, you see the way people, it becomes transactional. So younger generations, I think, are looking at it a little more like that. Not staying at jobs, treating it more like a transaction. It's obviously generalizing, but I think there's some probably. But yeah, staying at a big carrier long term, there's benefit there. Pension plans, benefit plans, compensation. Not a bad deal. The last one here, we got a few minutes left. Sign off for the day. How do you quietly explore the job market? So if you are that person who's been at a carrier for 10, 15 years, maybe not even that long, maybe you've been there 3-4 years, and you're starting to kind of look at something, how do you do that kind of quietly? Because you're looking for a great opportunity. You're not looking for any opportunity. You trust that your resume doesn't go anywhere, but people talk. You send your resume to a company. You don't want to get it back to your boss. You're worried about that. It's understandable. How do you How do you quietly explore the market? I think one really good strategy is just to be visible online. I think kind of doing yourself some marketing without explicitly saying what you're looking for, recruiters will come. And especially if your skill set's into. There was a Reddit thread recently where someone was talking about they work at a carrier, explore the option and the job, how to do it. And it's like, how do you do it? Well, you go sign up on a bunch of rosters and you see who starts calling your phone. And if they need you, your phone will start ringing. You don't have to be. You don't have to post online about how you're looking for a job, but you say you're an adjuster in, an area, or you start talking about those things, start to see the phone ring, you just start to hit you up. So that's what I would recommend is start with your LinkedIn profile and just put everything in there. Just complete your LinkedIn profile, have a photo in there, have a description that talks about what you do or what you might be looking for. And then go in and make sure that your history is correct and that you have employment dates right, and then descriptions of what you did. And that's how a lot of almost every recruit, some form of LinkedIn or a tool that scrapes LinkedIn. Just by having the right keywords in there, you're going to attract. That's how you can kind of get some intel quietly happening. Whether it be an agency recruiter like myself or an actual corporate recruiter. So, yeah, I would say update your LinkedIn profile is easy way to do it. And just start posting. Start posting in forum. Start making connections. You don't have to necessarily say you're looking. Kind of start about what else might be out there. Joining a Rise, joining different local claims organizations. Going to that golf tournament that I missed 2 weeks ago. Shout out Oregon Claims Association. That's about it. I got a busy day ahead of me. I got a couple positions. You're an adjuster, state of California especially. I want to talk to you. Been doing a lot of recruiting in California here recently. Claims roles. Some hybrid, some in person, some remote. So hit me up. California is its own beast. A lot of stuff, licensing requirements, things like that. But also just working those claims. The California type laws that are different, that are more steps. So you're a California adjuster, especially on the auto GL side, hit me up. Love to hear from you. Goal of this podcast has always been to help 100 people get jobs in 2026. We added number 27 today, Chrissy. Shout out Christy, member of the Catalyst community. Love to see it. Just give an update there. We got a long ways to go. It's mid-July. This is crazy. The summer is flying by. So we still got a lot of time left here in 2026. Been doing this every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Time or 9 a.m. on West Coast. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great week, everybody.